All right, you are recording.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. Over the years, I've become a pretty avid hiker, and with that, I've had many friends and family and colleagues ask me what supplies I choose to take with me when I hike. And so I thought I'd go ahead and make this little informative video to let you know what supplies are kind of the minimal necessity and then some added supplies. I do want to mention this isn't necessarily stuff you would take on a day hike. Some of it is, but the majority of this is going to be for more extreme hikes. So we're talking 10 to 20 mile hikes for day hikes. So first, there's always going to be the necessary food and water. So make sure to bring a good lunch and some protein packed snacks. Beef jerky is a really good one. It's light, easy to carry. Now the pack that I always bring with me has a water pack in it, and then it also has a lot of pockets, and so it can carry everything you need. And it's got the proper adjustments to sit on your hips to prevent injury if you're doing an all-day trip, and that's going to be very important. This one comes with a 2-liter water pack, and 2 liters is most definitely the minimum. I would actually recommend closer to 4 liters for a 10-mile hike, but the 2-liter one is nice because I can use the same pack on shorter hikes as well. The next that you're going to run into is going to be a good pair of shoes. Every hiker will tell you that the worst thing you can do is end up with a bad blister out on a trail. So a good pair of hiking shoes coupled with a nice pair of socks. You need a good bit of tread, so that way you don't slip and fall, and then you can deal with multiple types of terrain, whether that's ice or shale. I would also say that if you are going to hike with an animal, to ensure that you bring the proper equipment for them as well. That could be a whole video in itself, but at least minimally, make sure you bring enough water for the animal. And then to protect their paws, same as your shoes, you can buy a good pair of animal hiking boots to make sure they don't get their paws torn up. It's going to be a real problem if your animal ends up injured and you're trying to carry a large breed out of a trail. So ensure that for your safety as well as theirs. So after we go past just the basic backpack and then making sure you have some food and water for basic survivals, you kind of come into your medical needs. Now, a good first aid wrap will save your life with an ankle or a bad knee. It'll make it so you can get out. With that, since one of the most common hiking injuries is basically a rolled ankle or a blown out knee, you can carry with you a pair of hiking poles. These can act kind of as a crutch if you were to get injured. They're not real heavy, and they can be bought at most sporting goods stores. So if you do hike a good bit, bringing a pair of hiking poles, you can also use these to get up and down hills, and then you can buy spikes for them as well if you choose to go out in the ice, and they'll be able to support you. So these are going to be a really safe thing to help you get out of a trail if you end up with an injury. Then, with that, you're going to need sunscreen, because sunburn is pretty much miserable, as most of us are aware. You can bring yourself one of these breakable ice packs. They're one-time use, but again, with knees and ankles, they're going to come in handy. We had mentioned blisters earlier, and in theory, if you were using the proper shoes, then you shouldn't get a blister, but I can say I use proper shoes and I've had my fair share of hiking blisters. So again, any outdoors athlete will probably tell you that moleskin is the best thing. It's not real expensive. You can pick it up at pretty much any Walmart store. You can order it online. And this is something you can apply to the blister if you've already got it to prevent it from getting worse, or if you notice from beginning, you can just apply a little bit of this. There's a couple different things in here, but I'll kind of summarize. You got some ibuprofen. Always have an anti-inflammatory with you. If you're someone with a lot of allergies, I would recommend throwing in some Benadryl as well, or if you have any medical needs, so an EpiPen, if you have severe allergies, that sort of thing. So think about your own medical needs when you're out there. Bug spray, and then there's also an afterbite cream in here to help you if you were to get really bit or stung by something that hurt. Just try to keep those bugs off you. Hand sanitizer, you got to stay clean. And then for the truly hard hikes, there's always recommended to bring some water tablets to purify. Hopefully you were never out long enough, but if yourself or one of your hiking companions gets injured and you find yourself spending the night, you don't want to run out of water. They're lightweight, they can purify pretty much any source of water, and hopefully you're hiking somewhere where water can be found. And if you're hiking in our local Oregon area, you're most likely going to be able to find some kind of water. So then we kind of go into more of the navigational and that safety if you end up out there too late. A flashlight and a lighter are going to be kind of the basic. Having lights, sometimes things happen and a hike takes longer than you expect. I know I sprained a knee one time and it took me a lot longer to get out. It was almost dark by the time we made it to the car. So having a flashlight in case you need it is going to be a pretty awesome supply. And then a lighter, matches, flint. Everyone's got their own thing, but some way to get fire going if you need to. They act as a good signal, and then they'll also keep you warm. Compass, and then you'll want to get a local map of the area. So if you find yourself in an area you haven't been, then pick up a map, stop by a local ranger station, look one up online, but make sure that you have a compass and that you know how to use it. This means nothing shoved in a backpack. If you don't know how to use a compass, it's not going to do you any good. If you're hiking in some very extreme areas, we recently found myself and my boyfriend were out hiking in Yellowstone. They have a pretty heavy grizzly bear population. You can get bear bells, or you can hike with bear spray. So make sure to do the research on the wildlife of where you're going. Oregon, there are black bears, but your biggest issue in Oregon would most likely be a cougar, which you're probably not going to run into unless you're out there late at night. If you see one during the day, it's not going to end well probably. So do research, know what you're dealing with and how to handle them. Because of the high cougar population in Oregon, the biggest defense I carry is my dog. Cats don't like dogs, so hiking with a large animal can be useful, but again, if you're going to do that, make sure the animal is trained and in proper shape to keep up. You don't want to hurt your animal, and make sure that you're bringing their supplies as well. So this kind of covers just some of the basics of what you need to bring. So kind of a recap, make sure to check the weather, bring a rain jacket if you need it, always have some kind of cover, always make sure to pack enough water for the day. And if you have any kind of hat to keep the sun off your face, sunglasses, again, coming into the sunscreen, making sure that you are keeping yourself covered, because it's those little injuries, it's those little sunburns, it's those little blisters that can really make a beautiful hike turn into a miserable day. Bring your first aid supplies, be prepared for an injury and hope you never have one. And always be prepared for any kind of issues such as an allergic reaction if you're allergic to bees or anything of that sort. Bring navigational equipment. And for the most part, if you do these things, then you should be able to handle most circumstances if you know how to use them. And then if you're really going out far, I would certainly recommend getting some kind of satellite phone. Ultimately, my biggest recommendation to hike safely is do what you are capable to do. Don't go out and try to hike a hike that's too hard for you. Don't go into the deep woods if you don't know what you're doing. I encourage everyone to get out and try, but start small. Start with a 3 mile, then a 5 mile, then an 8 mile. Work your way up. You don't want to end up out in the woods and find out that you're way in over your head. That's how people get hurt. And we don't want you to get hurt, we want you to enjoy the woods. So thank you for listening to my informative speech here about what to bring with you, just the basic essentials for longer hikes. Again, some of this might not be necessary if you're doing a shorter hike. Thank you very much.